Alrighty, good day and welcome. My name is Mr. JB and today we're going to be going through another PhotoPea tutorial. I've done something similar to this in the past over the last few weeks on creating an image and making it look like it's been hand drawn. I've gone through and I've kind of experimented with some different options and some different ways and kind of MacGyvering around it, and I found a way that I think looks a little bit better, but it is a little bit more time consuming. So we are just going to dive on in. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of kind of how this can look. It's a little bit harder if you have a complicated background. This image of John Wick, for example, it ends up looking a little bit more complicated here in the background. Some of it doesn't show up as great. As you can tell, some of his hair is super dark. In terms of this one, just another random lady. That one ended up looking pretty great. Some complications during some spots during this, but it all in all ended up looking amazing. This other one of John Wick up close looked pretty good, other than the weird pixelization that occurs on it, just because the background was so dark. So I found that this works best if you can get something with a single color background. If you can't, you can always just trace around your object if that's the specific image you're trying to get. If you're trying to get the background as well, just know that it can be a little bit more complicated and it doesn't always work the best. Now, we're starting off with this image of PhotoPea, and we are just gonna dive on in. So we're gonna start off with our image in here. We're gonna do Control J. I always like to make a copy of everything that I'm doing. That way I have it. Now, I'm gonna go into my adjustment layer menu, and I'm gonna go to black and white, and I'm just gonna turn it into a black and white image right off the bat. Then you're gonna press hold Control and press I. Now you're going to press and hold Control while your layer 1 is selected, and then press I, and that will invert your image. From there, we are going to change our layer type. It'll say normal here. For some reason, whenever I click on this, it doesn't show the menu, but you're going to go up until you see color dodge. Your image should near go away at this point in time. If it does, that's perfect. That's exactly what we're supposed to be doing at this point. Now, with that all selected, our next option is to go to our filter. Then we're going to go to blur, and we're going to go Gaussian blur. Now you're going to set this up to your preference depending on how dark you want the lines, how much detail you want to show up. Will kind of determine where it is that you're going with this. I set mine somewhere around the 12-ish mark. I found works pretty good for most things. Now some of these steps are the exact same as my previous video, but there are a few differences. Now we're going to go to our new adjustment layer. We're going to go up to levels, and you're going to kind of adjust some of these levels, make some things either lighter or darker. Again, this is a lot of personal preference within this section, within a lot of these things. It's also going to be very dependent on the image that you are personally using. Now we're going to go back to new adjustment layer again, and we're going to go all the way up to brightness and contrast. Now with that, again, just kind of messing around with the brightness. I'm going to lower the brightness. I'm going to decrease the contrast a smidge. Actually, I'm going to increase that a smidge. And happy with that. When I want to close the menu, I just click on this slider bar stuff. Now from here, you're going to press and hold Shift, Control, Alt, and E, and that will end up creating a merged copy of all of those layers. So now everything we've done is all merged and slapped together into my levels 1 here. We're going to double click that, and we're going to call it merged, just so that way we know what we're talking about when we're going through this. Now with this, we've got a few more steps. We're going to go to our filter, we're going to go down to noise, and we are going to add some noise. Now this kind of adds a little bit more of that speckly look and kind of makes it look a lot more like it's been drawn. Now you can go overboard and definitely throw a ton in here. I found pretty much what they defaulted as, somewhere around the 20% mark. Probably looks the best for most of the stuff. So I'm just going to leave that there at 20%, click OK, and I'm going to move on. Next, we're going to go to our filter menu again. We're going to go down to sharpen, and we're going to click on smart sharpen. It adds a little bit more of the speckles and kind of makes different areas pop. The default for this usually looks pretty good, but again, you can kind of MacGyver this and change it how you wish. I'm going to just leave it pretty much at its default. Just mess around with the sliders. Again, a lot of personal preference throughout this. From here, we are going to duplicate our layer. So that's just Control J, or we can right click on that layer that we want, and we can just go up to duplicate layer. Both will do the exact same thing. I just like to use a lot of the quick keys when I can. Now with our top layer, our merged copy layer selected, I'm going to go up one more time to filter, filter gallery. Might take a moment to open, and then we're going to go to poster edges. This is how we can end up dealing with some posterization. Ends up kind of just adding some darkness to our darks and kind of just thickening up some of those lines. So again, a lot more personal preference in this. You're just going to kind of mess around to get the setting that you want. Boom, I'm happy with that for this demo. Click OK. And then from here, we're going to create a raster mask. To do that, we're going to go down here to add a raster mask, and we are going to invert it. So that's just making sure that you select the white box on our raster mask layer, press and hold Control, and then press I. That will invert that color, and now we are dealing with a black raster mask layer. From here, we're going to be using some paintbrush stuff, but it's really important that your white down in this bottom left corner is the white one. If it's not, you're just going to click on that top color and make sure that it is white, and then click OK. Now we're going to select our paintbrush tool, and we are going to select our paintbrush. We're going to use our soft mechanical, and you're just going to kind of adjust the size. Now you don't need it to be huge, you just want to be highlighting all of the black colors that you want to. It can make it look pretty rough if you do everything in all of the whites. Your goal is to just do any of the dark colors in here. So I'm just going to end up painting over any spots on the hair, and you'll see it makes everything just a little bit darker, but it's not bringing back too much of our pixelization. Because if we do the whole thing, all of the skin, all of the white areas, then that will end up adjusting a lot of things, and it doesn't really look as good as we want it. So again, I'm just going to go over eyes, nose, lips, eyebrows, and just kind of all of those darker areas, just to make sure that we got everything popping as much as we want it to. Awesome. Now, with that, that's all this really is. I know it's pretty quick. I ran through this rather fast, but this is a quick way to turn just about any image into a more pencil-esque looking drawing. My previous one did look pretty good when I did it, but I found that this looks better than the previous method I used to use. So give this a try. Mess around with it. Again, complicated backgrounds do have some issues, so just keep that in mind. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you learned something. As always, have a wonderful day, take care, and be safe.